Yeah, the same neocolonial mess that's in AI is in every single investing option that I have looked into. And I am stuck. I'm stuck on the investment side of things. I'm actually not as stuck on the AI side of things. Um, and I don't know why that is. Particularly because of the fact that like it's the same sort of exploitative system, right? It's the same sort of take everything you can from the earth, from the people, for the sake of profit, and funnel that wealth out of the global south into tech oligarchies, not even regular people, just like right up to the top. And they're the only ones that benefit. And it's the same thing. It's in AI, it's also in any like investing sort of vehicle that you look into. And I am just stuck because with AI, especially with like how Fable 5 just Claude's Fable 5 model just got like ripped out of the public hands by the government. Um, which that was such a situation because the government requirement specified that they no longer give access to Fable 5 to non-US citizens. Like, hang tight. Hold on. So you mean to tell me that you will mine the minerals from countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo and use them in your chips that run the internet? All of the data centers that run generative AI right now, we're good with doing that. And then we're going to deny these same people access to the models that literally run on the chips made from the minerals mined from their soils. Like, we're going to cut them completely off. No access. Completely out of the equation. Bro, I've never like it is crazy to me how this neocolonialism is playing out. Like how we watch how we're watching the whole thing being bankrolled. Like the AI industry is insane. Okay, it's insane. But my point being that it's the same sort of exploitative drama in AI that's in investing. And with the on the AI front, like I have talked about the fact that I use all of these models every day in my business and in my work. Um, and I'm not comfortable with just sitting with that conclusion. And I think I just did a video yesterday on how like having no longer no longer having the opportunity to try Fable 5 and regretting it has kind of led me to a decision around my engagement with AI and how I'm going to start looking into local models. Now, that doesn't mean that local models are a solution for me, but it is a direction, right? Because as I'm trying to get educated on what local models are, how they work, etc. One thing that immediately becomes clear is that like if you are running a local model and you want it to be significantly powerful, you do need the computing hardware to account for that. And that hardware ain't cheap. So, you know, um, but I think that there is fair play in saying that the opportunity to not be on like complicit in an ongoing way with the use of these models, because I'm not using, for example, Claude Opus 4.8, I'm using my own local model. And even if my own local model was trained on data that was not given consensually, it's still part of the problem for sure, but at least it's not being run on data centers that are like compromising people's water supply and power supply and jeopardizing their health and their quality of life. At least like that level of complicity is decreased. Doesn't mean all complicity is decreased, but like I think there is only so much that I personally can take responsibility for. And I think I can try to engage in very intentional ways around these topics, but I cannot solve everything on a personal level, obviously. And so what that means is I think I have to come to a sort of acceptance and continual awareness of how the space is developing, what can, what is accessible to me to decrease my complicity as much as I can, and then advocate for the rest in any way I can. Um, that's the way I'm thinking about it right now, especially like that's the way I'm thinking about AI. And I don't know if it's because I engage with AI on a day-to-day basis, why I feel like I have more of a clear direction around like what I want to try and the things I'm thinking about and what may or may not work for me and like what I want to research and investigate. Um yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm already so deeply familiar with that world and I'm engaging with the world every single day, why that is easier for me to wrap my brain around. But for investing, I don't engage with my investments every single day. I don't engage with financial news every single day. I very much am of the school or was of the school that you deposit the money, you set it, you forget it, you don't touch it. Okay, you don't touch the money. You don't pay attention to what the market's doing. You're not trying to game the market. Like, put it down and leave it alone. And so, what that means is, I don't really think about my investments on a day to day basis in the same way that I think about AI, which means that I don't have as much of like, I think, I don't have as much knowledge at hand that I can just grasp in my brain to think about what other options and possibilities there are. And I've explored some, y'all. Like I've done some research. I've done research into like ESG funds. I've done research into like gold. I've done some research into like REITs, REITs, REITs. Like I've done a little bit of research, okay? But I mean they all come with their issues. They all come with their issues. And I think that I very clearly identified that like when I know where my money is going, there's a much clearer supply chain and I have more power to advocate for cleaning up that supply chain. And when I say when I know where my money is going, I'm talking like when I spend money within my local context. I have more influence and power as a member of the population, as people, to voice my concerns, to advocate for improvement and transparency and justice within the supply chain that my money is being inputted into. But the longer the sort of distance that my money goes away from me, so like Chelsea Wallace in Jamaica investing in the S&P 500, that's like miles, thousands of miles. And just even thinking geographically, but also on from the perspective of like political power as a member of the people, the population. I have less of that the more my money moves away from me. And so I have less opportunity for advocacy as well as less transparency in supply chain and therefore more likelihood of unethical, exploitative, neocolonial empire crap. And so I start to think that my investing strategy might need to look a lot more local, but I I also started to look into like what the systems are like in Jamaica, what things like credit unions locally are offering. And y'all, it's not those have their problems too. And so I'm just like, all right, this is why in the other video, this is why in the other video I was low-key like, bro, it's just looking like I'm gonna just have to make as much money as I can and then minimize my complicity as much as I can by maybe putting my money into bonds, even though bonds aren't very good. Like I know there are problems, okay? But I'm just thinking like, okay, the least I can do is just beat inflation and then we'll be okay. We don't have to try and like turn the money over. We just have to maintain where the money's at. Um and then I just like make enough, make more of it. Serve tons of people, and just like make money from service, not make money from investments and compounding. Um that's my thought right now. That's where I'm landing because everything else that I look at is just like it's all got messy-ish. It all has some messy stuff. REITs, fractional art, angel investing, like gold. They're all, I mean, first of all, so many of these investment opportunities come with a large startup capital price tag, right? That's why things like a target date fund are so powerful because you don't need a ton of cash to start it, right? The everyday person can get started. This is why like investing is so accessible. It's so accessible, but yeah, it my values and my ethics are smacking dab into the compounding interest. So it's not working. Um so yeah, I don't have an answer, y'all. Um and it's very clear that like the system makes it so much harder to figure out how to have clean money. And or rather, clean is not the word because I don't think there could ever be clean money at this point. Like we've mucked this up. I don't think we're coming back from that. If there ever is a world where we move into Star Trek era and we are no longer using money, praise God from whom all blessings flow. But the likelihood, I think, is quite low. I don't know if we get there. Um, so I'm just like that clean money is not a thing, but maybe we could have like less dirty money. And maybe we can have less opaque supply chains because like obviously we're not going to have transparent ones. What do you mean transparent supply chains, like what? Only small individual brands, baby. That are still small enough to be able to tell you like where their products are coming from and being made and labor practices and all these things, and if they even disclose that depending on who they are. Like I probably only one this comes to mind when I think of like, well, actually, that's maybe not true. But I'm not 100% sure about the others. So I was about to say, like, there's only one brand that I can think of that is very open. Like, they're a manufactured product, they're a beauty product, and they are very open about where their ingredients come from, and they're like they're manufacturers and things like that. Like they talk about that process. Even if they don't give like full complete details, they share the process. And I know there are other brands out there that aim for that kind of transparency in supply chain situationships. And so maybe it's looking into like investing in individual companies, but we all know that's risky. And like we all know that like you don't want to put your money into a company that doesn't have an over 10-year 25-year history, because if they're not going to be here in another 10 years, that's not going to help you, because your money could be going down the drain and they go bankrupt or get bought up. And like I mean, I suppose in the situation that they get bought up, what usually happens to shares when a company gets bought? And like, I suppose it depends on what happens to the company, right? If the company gets like torn apart and like auctioned for parts, or if it gets liquidated, if there's a bankruptcy filing, I don't even know if the terminology that I'm using to ask these questions are right. So that's a question to find out as well. Is like, if I were to invest in an individual company, an individual brand with a transparent supply chain, knowing the risk because they don't have a 10 to 25-year track record. So I don't know if they're going to be here for another 50 years when I need to cash out, right? I don't know. Um, but let's say I take the risk and do that investment. If the company were to be bought up, what does that mean for my shares? Um, I suppose that also matters if they have shares available to be purchased. Do companies have to have IPOs to have shares available for purchase? See, now this is the kind of education that you start to realize that you need. Because you didn't necessarily need this education if you were going to just invest in the S&P 500. You just need somebody to show you a tutorial to say, here's what you do. You log into fidelity.com or you log into Vanguard, you click on, you start your 401k, and then you put the target date fund in your 401k and you're good to go. And you just set up automatic payments every month and you don't think about it. You leave it alone. Like, that's it. Just a few steps. Bro, I could share my screen and show, like, people share there's so many videos on YouTube, right? It's just step by step. But you don't have to ask the question of like, do I want to take such a risky investment? What happens if the company is no longer around? What happens to my shares in the company? Are shares even available to be bought up before a public IPO? And if so, how do you get access to those? And like, these are all the questions, start to ask because, and have to ask and have to be educated on to make the best decision that you can make around like trying to figure out less dirty money, trying to figure out how to invest to have less dirty money because you can't get clean money. So less dirty is now the standard. I don't know, y'all. I obviously have more questions than answers, but I just thought it was really ironic that I have a clear kind of plan and idea of what I want to research and learn more about in terms of AI and local models and my options there. And even creating like an exit plan. So let's say I'm very clear that, well, I don't have the sort of like my finances are doing other things in my life and business. So I cannot at this point purchase like all the hardware that I need to run the level of local AI model that I need to run, right? Fine. But like, what's the trajectory of that? Is that like a descaling my use of these models over the course of 3 years? Like, what pieces of equipment do I need to get first? Is there anything that I need to learn about like security and like the questions are already like pretty clear in my mind and the direction is clear. And I'm not necessarily committed to local AI. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that the option feels a lot more secure. And when I say feel, let me clarify. When I say feel secure, I mean it feels clearer in terms of next steps and in terms of the questions I want to ask, what I need to know, and a potential path to make some decisions around decoupling my engagement with generative AI and large language models and frontier models from these tech oligarch companies. Okay. Let's just be real. That's what they are. Um, it just feels like clearer versus my investments. I have so many paths before me and even lack of a good sense of what questions I need to be asking. Um, So yeah, if y'all have any sense of what questions I need to be asking, please drop them in the comments below. Help a girl out. Or maybe y'all are in the same boat that I am and you're like, girl, I don't know neither. Sound off. Would love to hear that I'm not alone in this too. That we welcome this sort of learning together vibe around here. Um, yeah, so please let me know in the comments whether you are in the boat of like, actually, I have some education on this. These are the questions that I think it would be good for you to be asking. Or if you're like, I'm lost in the sauce too. I look forward to reading your comments and responding to them. Feel free to also DM me over on Instagram. The link to my Instagram account is in the description box below. And if y'all want to work with me, if y'all want to find out about more about what I do and how I help folks with online offers, feel free to click the link in the description box below as well. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me with this video. I look forward to reading your comments and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.